Hello, it is Anika from Living for Later. So a few weeks ago, I was having a conversation with a good friend of mine, and she's one of those, I'm gonna tell you like it is, and she is willing to ask you the difficult questions. So she was having some challenges in a friendship, and I was kind of giving some advice, and it opened the door for her to like ask me some specific questions even about my own marriage, because I was just making the point that, you know what, every relationship goes through some rough patches. And she's like, and I just kind of said, in my own marriage, we've gone through some rough patches, but I can reflect and say, you know what, I'm glad that I stuck it through. It was worth it. And she goes, well, yeah, but I'm sure you and your husband, when you were going through it, you guys were at least given 50-50, because she was upset that, she felt like she had given more in this friendship. And I was like, yeah, no, it is not always about 50-50. And just quite honestly, I was sharing with her that there were seasons in our marriages where it was 90-10 or 100-0 or, 80 what? 80-20. That was not my strong suit in school. So anyway, my point was that it's not always, for us to get through difficult seasons in our marriage, it wasn't about, oh, we're just always going all the way in and we're meeting each other halfway. No, there were times where, my flesh was on full display, and I'm like, you can press as hard as you want, but I'm not budging because you hurt me, and I'm not willing to meet you halfway. And the same thing has happened vice versa. So I think that we get this mindset that, again, for any relationship to work, we both have to do 50-50. That's not necessarily the truth. The truth is, for a relationship to work, is that it means that one or both parties have to be willing to say, I'm going to let my flesh die. I am willing to lose this argument. I'm willing to give more than you are at this point, because ultimately I want to be God honoring. I want to please God. And I just even think about at a certain rough point in our marriage where I felt like I was given more than my husband, and I had kind of gotten into a place of self-pity, and the Lord really just had to check me and say, listen, this is so beyond you. And my husband was going through a season of difficulty, and it was hard for him to give emotionally, and I just got stuck in my feelings, just quite honestly. But when the Lord really began to let me see the bigger picture, and that it wasn't just about me, and I couldn't be inwardly focused, and when I stood at that altar and I said, for better or for worse, that when the worst came, that I had to sometimes be willing to give more than I thought I should. That's being Christ-like. When he went to the cross, he gave more than he should have, right? He didn't deserve any of that. And I think sometimes that's the issue in marriage, why marriages fall apart. It's, I don't deserve this. Well, who are you? Like, seriously, it's not about our rights. It's about bringing glory to God. And sometimes bringing glory to God means, you know what, Father, I'm willing to endure this difficult season, knowing that you're going to hear my cries, and that you are going to allow this difficult season to work together for my good. And like I said, it's been flipped in our marriage, where I've been the one where it's because I couldn't see clearly in certain circumstances, where my husband had to be the one to come along and to help carry me and say, you know what? I am going to cover you in this, and I'm going to, fill up the deficit for whatever it is that you're not giving. So when we enter marriage, it's not something to be taken lightly. It's not something that we should say, okay, where's the escape route? Just in case this thing goes sour, how can I get out of this? No, it should really be till death do us part. And I think that oftentimes we buy into this idea of, we see these picture perfect couples on Instagram, and and I'm not hating on that. I think it's wonderful when we display healthy marriages, but I think we need to also understand what healthy means. Healthy marriages doesn't necessarily mean the absence of struggle and difficulties. As a matter of fact, sometimes it's the presence of struggles and difficulties that leads you to a place of your marriage being healthy, because when the difficulties arise and you bring it before God, He strengthens you. The difficulty doesn't wipe you out, it makes you stronger. But again, that's all about your approach. Is it about you, or are you taking this thing to God and allowing Him to redeem whatever pain and whatever difficulty? So back to what I was saying, I think that oftentimes we buy into this picture perfect thing, and we see movies and we're like, oh yes, my husband should do this, this, and this, and this, and this for it to work, or I should be doing this, this, and this, my wife should be doing this, this, and this for it to work, and we just always meet each other in the middle. That's not always the case, but marriage can work if we keep Christ at the center and allowing Him to just meet us in those places of difficulties. And if you are in a marriage now and you feel like, I'm carrying more than my spouse is, and you're feeling overwhelmed, please don't avoid going to God. Sometimes when we're in those rough places, it can feel so overwhelming that we dismiss the idea of running to God, the one that invites us to cast our burdens and our cares on Him. He's the one that's going to help you through this. So after 17 years of marriage and just experiencing many highs and many lows, I can say that I am so glad that I stuck it through, that we stuck it through. Not that our marriage is perfect, but it has been worth it, because I think about some of the difficult seasons that we have endured and how God, by His grace, helped us to get through it, and to see just even the emotional intimacy and the closeness, not just with each other, but even with God, because there's something about marriage that just lets you know that, listen, I need Jesus. And if you approach, again, the difficult seasons in the right way, it shouldn't leave you estranged from Jesus. It should bring you even closer to Him. So I know that I said a lot, and I pray that you can just ask the Lord to help you to connect all the dots, and that this ministered to you in some way. So again, for a relationship to work, it's not about 50-50. Really, for a relationship to work, it's about you seeking the face of God, so that when you're given more than your spouse, you're not willing to bow out, but you can depend on the grace of God to carry you through and bring you through that season. And in the end, the marriage will be stronger, and your spouse getting to that place where he or she needs to be. So I just pray that this video blesses you, and just recognizing that, yeah, the truth is sometimes in marriage, it's going to be 90-10. Sometimes it's not going to be where we're meeting each other, halfway. There are those beautiful seasons where you feel like you're just in sync, and, both of you are empathetic towards each other, and you're trying to meet each other's needs. But life happens, and sometimes you get off kilter. That's just the truth. But it doesn't mean that you throw in the towel. It means you fight even more in prayer if you feel like you're the one that's given more, trusting that the Lord is hearing your prayers, and that He will work on the heart of your spouse and give you the strength to just endure whatever seasons of difficulty that you're going through, where you feel like you may be carrying more than your spouse. Trust the Lord. He is faithful. And again, as difficult as marriage can be, and as difficult as those seasons can be, I can say with no pretense that it's one of the most beautiful things that I have ever encountered, and experienced, I should say, and it's worth every struggle.